Welcome to Literally Books, a podcast. My name is Magda.
And I'm Lindsay.
And today we're going to be chatting with Chelsea Cole, who is the cookbook author of A Feast of Thorns and Roses. Yay! But before we get started, Lindsay, what have you been reading?
Oh, Magda, I am going to be in trouble this week. I actually don't even know what I'm going to do for my book review on Sunday because I have read barely anything.
You were on a streak, though. I remember you were on like, go, go, go.
I'm just like, it's not even that I don't want to read. It's that, I don't know, something is in the air right now where I'm just like feeling very low energy. So I'm almost done with The Secret Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab.
How are you liking it?
I really like it. I think for a lot of people, this book came up as something that was like life-changing for them. And for me, it's not hitting in that way. I'm like thoroughly enjoying it. The writing is beautiful. I just haven't hit that point where it's like struck me in my heart. And I think that's like why I'm like a person on a dating app right now who's like been on a lot of good dates, but hasn't had that like soul match yet. And I'm needing it right now. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at reading wise.
I got you. I think I was feeling that way too towards the end of April, beginning of May, where I'm like, nothing is hitting me right now. And I think that's when I started reading like a lot more R.F. Kuang, and I just couldn't get into it, which I know it was more of a representation of where my headspace was than her writing. And it's just, I hate that feeling, but sometimes you just need a break, honestly. Like, you can't really force it.
No, that's the thing. And like we read a lot. So at some point we're going to burn out or we're going to hit like a rough or bumpy patch. And I'm just in that right now, but it'll come back. I'll reemerge. I promise. What are you reading?
So I did finish 2 books this past week. So the first one is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. Have you heard of this book before?
Yes, I love the cover of it. It looks like very like graphic, and I had no idea what to expect genre-wise with it. So I'm so excited to hear you talk about it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. It was one of those two that I also went fully blind. I just had seen it in the ether quite a bit that people just love this book. And I'm like, I'm just going to go in and see what happens. I did the audiobook because that's what I keep hearing, that do the audiobook, that the audiobook is amazing. And I did. And this book, the best way that I can describe it to you is if you like playing RPGs, or if you like the show Rick and Morty, or if you just like the idea of an intergalactic survivor style reality TV show, this is going to be the book for you. It is fast-paced, it is crazy, non-stop action things that are happening. And it follows Carl, who is our main character here, who finds himself in a post-apocalyptic world that is caused by this like alien race, and he just kind of gets thrown into this crazy world of survivor style shenanigans. And he is stuck with his ex-girlfriend's cat, who becomes a really important part of the whole plot. And it is so ridiculous, it is so fun, and just the original idea of it, in my opinion, is so original, and I haven't read or seen anything like it before, and it was so fun. Like, I'm begging my husband to read this because I think this is going to be one of those books that he would truly like enjoy just because of how different of a concept it is. It was so fun. I think you would like this too. I'm in love.
It sounds very what I need right now. Yeah. It sounds very fun. Like Hitchhiker's Guide a little bit or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so very, very interesting concept. And it is like there's like 6 or 7 books out there. So it's like a really long list of things that I have to catch up on. But it's so fun this is going to be probably like my palate cleanser from some of the other books that I've been reading. So I'm going to try to alternate them and do my best. But so fun. The next one that I read, and this is more of a short story, which I think this could potentially get you out of your reading slump, maybe. It's going to be All Systems Red by Martha Wells. So I actually got the physical book. And this is part of the Murderbot series, which I think Apple TV's just started doing the show, like releasing the episodes on their platform. It's really good, Lindsay. I think you will really like this one. So this is going to be a mix between like Mickey 7, Aliens a little bit, but like a little bit more lighthearted than Aliens. I think you will really like this. It's going to follow a SecBot who is like an android cyborg type of style AI machine, but he's kind of made up of organic and inorganic materials. And the interesting thing about it that the organic materials is made up of clones. So I don't know, it just kind of gave me a lot of vibes similar to Mickey 7 in a way, but it was just such a fun story, and it's just really short and quick, and he's just going to deal with he's like a security guard for like these researchers that are doing just researching other planets, and like just so weird things start kind of happening, and they just kind of get thrown into this conspiracy world where they're gonna have to try to figure out like who's trying to kill them. And he is so interesting because he's very different from the other androids. Like I don't want to call him that he's sentient, but he's a little bit smarter, that he just kind of like was able to kind of put himself away from like what manages all of these bots. So it was just such a fun concept. It's going to deal with that philosophical question of what it means to be human, the humanity of it, and all those type of things, which it's one of my favorite premises in books. So it's just one of those that is going to make you think, and it's a fun, quick, easy read. I think the first volume is only about 150 pages, so you're going to go through it really fast. I believe the first season of the TV show is only going to be dealing with this particular book. So I'm really excited for it because they're probably going to be either adding or expanding on the world, which could be fun, I think.
Well, first of all, you and I are switched this week in our genres, because I've been reading so much romance and you've been reading so much sci-fi. It's so interesting. I'm like dying to read these books. I've heard so many things. There are a lot of them, I think, the Murderbot series. So I'm wondering if the future, I didn't realize the television show was out either. So that's so exciting.
I think it just got released this week. So it's like brand new, like
brand
just
new.
came out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. I think it's 7, 1, 2, 8. No, 6. Sorry, 6 different volumes on this. But again, they're short stories, which is
so
kind
that
of
one
fun.
book is every volume?
This one book has 2 volumes.
This is the opposite of what happened with Wool, the series Wool. I told Magda, like, go read Wool. It's super short. They're just like 4 or 5 books that are really, really short. And it's because I read it the first year that it came out, and there was only the single compendium that existed. And now there's Wool, Dust, and one other one. And she was like, it is not short. It's like hundreds of pages long. These books are throwing me.
I know. But no, this one is 2. So I think each of the books, if you go and buy the physical copies, each of the books have like 2 short stories in them.
Cool.
So really fun.
I'm so into it.
Yeah, like, and the writing is pretty big. So I went through this in
writing is big.
It's like
we're in that. I know. Look, we got to get through
Listen, but it was really good. Like but I mean, just because it's big, like the writing is quite complex, because I did have to reread a couple of things because it does get a little bit too techie for me and like sci-fi. So I had to like, oh wait, what did they do? So you do kind of have to be paying attention. So yeah, like at one point I was actually doing the audiobook and reading at the same time, just to make sure that I was understanding what was happening.
I love that.
Yeah, like all my senses had to be in it. So
I get
just
it.
because it's a short story doesn't mean that it's not complex. Like I did have to like get into it. So yeah, it was, I think you will like this though. You will really like this, especially coming out of like Mickey 7. It deals with very similar premises on just humanity as a whole, and like the choices that we offer these type of beings. It was pretty fun. You know who reminds me the main character of? I think you love the movie Alien, right? So like David.
I do love the movie Alien. Yeah.
So I know really it's super random, but like David from the movie Alien is that type of being. Like he's a cyborg. So I don't know.
Yes, he's a cyborg, but he's bad.
But you're gonna be dealing with some questions about those type of things, not because of the main character, but other sec units. So it's fun.
Okay, that's so interesting. Oh man, I'm so happy that you brought up Alien too. That's like what I need. When I'm talking about being in like, I'm in like a life slump right now. It's not even a reading slump. I don't know what it is. I'm just feeling like you just have those like waves. It's nothing serious, but anyway, I found myself like watching Dune late into the night last night because I was like, Dune is comforting. Alien is like that for me, and it's something broken in my brain that I'm like, yes, give me the post-apocalypse to lull me into sleep. So this is it. This is the book.
I think these 2 books are for you then. You have Dungeon Crawler Carl, a post-apocalyptic fan world, and then this one, which is also pretty like mystery, and it's fun. It's fun.
Beautiful.
All right, you want to take a little bit of a break?
Let's do it.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Welcome back. We are joined by the amazing Chelsea Cole to talk about her new book, A Feast of Thorns and Roses. Chelsea Cole is a cookbook author, food blogger, and founder of the Cookbook Lab, a course that teaches self-publishing cookbooks. Her website, A Duck's Oven, focuses on sous vide cooking. She has written 2 cookbooks, Everyday Sous Vide and Sous Vide Meal Prep, and her third, A Feast of Thorns and Roses, a fan cookbook inspired by A Court of Thorns and Roses series, was released on April 1st. She currently lives outside of Portland, Oregon with her husband, son, and a daughter on the way.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you. How does it feel? I'm sure like you've been going through this whole thing. Like, how does it feel to read your bio and kind of listen to it like multiple times? Like, it has to be pretty exciting,
Oh, it's
right?
so cool. Yeah, it's the best. It's been funny because this is such a different world than the world I was in before. My previous work has been about sous vide, which is like a very technical, sciency type of cooking. And then I had the idea for this cookbook that's completely different from anything I do. And so I've gotten involved with like the book community, which has been so fun and different. And yeah, so it's just like a total 180. It's like my bio's a lot of things.
It's also got to be great though, because I was reading through your longer bio, which you have a very varied background, marketing and restaurant consultation. It seems like all sorts of things, and you have to hear it back and be like, "I'm doing so well." Like you should be very proud.
Which is funny because, like, there were lots of moments when it definitely didn't feel that way. Like, I remember when I was like, I don't know, 30-ish, 28, I don't know, somewhere around that time. I took a job that was part-time and a marketing job, and I was like, because I want to grow like my blog and I want to like focus on writing cookbooks and like grow these other things with my free time. And like my parents were like so scared that I was doing that. And just like so many little things along the way where it's been like, is this the right? And then I fully quit my job like went self-employed in 2021, which was terrifying. But it all works out, and luckily I'm here and still enjoying it, and it's allowed me to also be home with my kids. So that's been really great.
I love that. And we love to kind of start out at all of our interviews with like a basic question of like, what was the book that you feel like made you a reader?
Oh, that's a great question. Made me a reader. I feel like this is going to be okay. So I feel like when we're in high school, you like come across a lot of like very literary stuff that's very inspiring to your teenage brain. And so there was a lot of that for me. Like I love David Sedaris, like lots of like stuff like that when I was a teenager. But the thing that made me like an avid reader, I think, was actually The Other Boleyn Girl, by Philippa Gregory. I like fell in love with historical fiction when I picked that up, and it made me just want to sit down with a good book and get sucked in all the time. So different from that kind of like exploratory reading, but just like that allowed me to really enjoy reading for fun. And then I feel like, a lot of the other typical things like Harry Potter, Twilight, Hunger Games, etc. I think a lot of millennials would say all of those. You can't those I would be remiss not to.
Require reading for our upbringing for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
I love that answer though, because I do feel like we talk about this all the time. Like we we say like read literally anything because it's not always those books in high school that really make you like long term. They teach you how to think about books, but they're not the thing that pull you in.
Yep.
The Other Boleyn Girl is such a it like comes through a little bit in the way that you write your recipe headings and things like that. Like it's just funny. I can see that sort of historical draw.
I was obsessed with historical fiction for so long. Like I think I've read every single one of her books in particular, and like yeah, it was my jam. I'm starting to tiptoe back into it because I was like, "Oh, I kind of missed that." So I like just read the whole Bridgerton series. And like a few other things like that. So I'm kind of like trying to find some more historical fiction, but nothing is quite scratching that itch like The Other Boleyn Girl did for me.
I have some recommendations that I will send you because I think we can
Perfect.
potentially talk about that. That's one of my favorite genres is historical
Yay!
fiction too. I love it from everything from romance, like or just like action packed, whatever it is. I just love being transported back and just romanticizing part of that
Yes,
space.
please send me
Yeah.
recommendations because I need something. Like I got Bringing Down the Duke, which is like a romance, and it's very cute, but it's not like quite the vibe. I need more. not I almost said world building, but you know what I mean. Like I need more of the
Yeah.
scene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's a space for everything. Like you have like our basic comfort reads, like Bring It Down the Duke, which is a fun read,
Yes.
but then you have like the ones that are a little bit more complex and like it just kind of transports you fully into that space. And those are like the Kristen Hannas of the world or the
Yes.
Ariel Lawhons of the world that are just gonna like make you leave that world, which is so different. It's whatever you're feeling like, honestly.
Totally. Yes. Okay. I can't wait for your
Yeah.
recommendations.
Clearly, we feel passionately about this. Okay, so we obviously know that one of the other things that has transported you is ACOTAR.
Mhm.
Can you tell me, what do you think makes ACOTAR and its fandom so special?
Yeah. I think that for so many of us, we hadn't experienced a book like this, like fantasy, really, since the days of like Hunger Games and Divergent and stuff like that. And I know for many of us, like we read those books, what, 15 years ago now, and fell in love with them and got so sucked into the world building and also really attached to the characters and wanted to see how the characters progress throughout a series. And there hasn't really been something like that since then. Not to and the great thing about ACOTAR is it grows up with you. So you're not reading about 15-year-olds, admittedly, 19. Is it that much different? I don't know. But it feels different. The writing style is different. It's more grown up. And so it doesn't feel like you're reading like teenage fiction. And I think that just like sucked us all back in. Like I know that I had a lull in reading where I was really just reading like quick and easy thrillers, which are great. I still love them. But that's like all I was doing. Like, and so you weren't like getting invested in these storylines and in these characters. Like those thrillers, again, love them. They're like great popcorn books. But if you ask me, like I'll finish one. And if you ask me what I read a week later, I won't be able to tell you. Like it's just out my brain. And so I feel like ACOTAR has been so special in that way and like really reignited a love of reading for people in a way that we haven't had in so long. I know that was the case for me. And it's funny, I think a lot of people even pick it up with a heavy dose of skepticism, just with the idea of like, if something is so, like, I don't know, I think we tend to rebel against something that is really popular. But then you pick it up and it's like, oh, I can see why. Like this has done the trick for me. And the fan base, they exist now. This fan base exists because their love of reading was reignited. So many people, not obviously not everyone. And I think that's really special. And like it gives all these people, especially women, something to bond over. And that's been so fun for me to get to experience over the last like 6 months of promoting this book and like getting to talk to people and all that stuff.
What was the most surprising thing, whether good or bad, for writing a cookbook for such a loyal fan base?
Okay, so it's funny when I first committed to this, like when I first had the idea, the fan base was not really on my mind other than the fact that like there's a big fan base, so I know that it can have commercial success. It would appeal to a publisher. And then I joined a bunch of Facebook groups and like started really immersing myself in the fan base, and I got terrified because I was like, okay, I am writing a book for this huge group of people that is very opinionated, and will say exactly what they're thinking on the internet. And so I was like, okay, the stakes feel a lot higher. And so I felt a lot of pressure to do everything well. I really wanted it to feel like I wanted the book to feel like a tool for experiencing ACOTAR in a new way. And so I had to have a whole section of party guides to that end. And like I even came up with like games for all of the parties that you can play and stuff like that. And so I just wanted it to feel like this like new way to experience Prithian. And then making sure that I represented the characters and the places and all of the things well through food, which is hard to do. The nice thing about ACOTAR, it's funny, when I first announced the cookbook, I saw like so many comments that were like, how is someone writing a whole cookbook about ACOTAR? There's no food in the books. And I'm like, I beg to differ. There is a lot of food. And so there's a lot of material to work with, which was so helpful. And so I'd say like 60% of the recipes in the book are like, is food that's mentioned in the series. And then the other 40 is like things I came up with that are inspired by characters and places and things like that. But the one I felt the most pressure on was the soup. Because it's not specified what the soup is in the books. And like people, it's funny because I talked to people and I said, what did you think of when you pictured the soup? And almost everyone said like a can of Campbell's chicken soup. So I ended up going with like chicken and stars, which is like a chicken noodle soup, but the noodles are this really cute star-shaped pasta that's really tiny. And I love it, but I was so nervous that people would be like, that's not what I pictured. Like it was blah, blah, blah. And, like tons of stuff like that. But the reaction has been pretty good. Even if people are like, I actually pictured beef and vegetable, but this is so cute or whatever. So, I have been really like I'm like, I hate to even jinx it. Like I want to knock on all the wood, but I have been so pleasantly surprised by the fan base like reaction to the book so far. Like I have yet to get a 4-star review on Amazon. I have like a couple on Goodreads and I'm like, that's fine with me. Like, great, I'll take it. And just even like reviews on social media have been so positive. It's hard for me to keep my mouth shut. Like I've been advised by my agent to not chime in on conversations in Facebook groups and stuff like that, but it's like so hard. I see it all. uh, but yeah, I've been like so happy with how positive the reactions have been. So I really tried. I put a lot of effort into this and it's fun to see it pay off.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And when you were reading the book, was there like a particular food or recipe that you saw that triggered this idea of like, oh, could I make this?
You know what? No, the thing that inspired me to write the book was my cousin posted about her Sims cookbook on Facebook. And I was like, what is a Sims cookbook? Why is this a thing? And so I like went online and learned that there's all these fan cookbooks and I didn't know this was such a big genre. And I was looking through and I'm like, there isn't an ACOTAR cookbook. And like the thing I was noticing is like, there was like, a Minecraft cookbook and like a Game of Thrones cookbook and stuff like that. And I'm like, while I bet those sell well because there's a lot of invested fans, the people who love Game of Thrones and who want to buy a cookbook, there's probably not like a huge overlap there, but I'm like, ACOTAR and people who want to buy a cookbook, that's a good overlap. Like that, I think that people would really like this. And so I had already read the whole series twice by that point. And so I started going through it a third time and I was like, and there's lots of food to work with. Like we can totally make this happen. And there's a lot of food centric scenes. Like, one of my favorite characters in the series is Alice and how much cooking she does and like the specificity around the food that she prepares for Farah. And then, the baking with Elaine, and Caradwin and Nuala, like and I'm like, okay, yeah, there's lots to work with here. So, and then I feel like the way SJM, she does such a beautiful job of describing like the smells and things of each place. And so there's like notes like that make it really easy to work with. And so I was like, okay, yeah, there's lots that we can work with here.
Yeah, it's funny because I love that you talked about the overlap between the readers and the consumers of cookbooks because we talk about that a lot, and it felt very true to the writing. It's a testament to you as a reader to have picked up on that, and also a testament to why people love Sarah J. Maas because it's like you have a sense, like sensorially, and
Mhm.
of what you want those things to be without her necessarily calling out what they are, and I think you've just filled in that gap like very seamlessly. The other thing that I noticed, I don't know if this is intentional. I'm very curious to talk to you about this, is that the recipes are beautiful. Like they visually are spectacular on the page. But when I was reading through them, I didn't feel like, oh no, I'm going to have 17,000 dishes and
Mhm.
15,000 expensive ingredients. So they're very approachable. Was that something that you were conscious of as you were writing them?
Very. I knew that a lot of the people who were buying this book weren't like, you're not buying this book because you want a cookbook. You're buying this book because you loved the ACOTAR series. And so that means that a lot of the people who were going to be picking this up were not going to be experienced cooks. And so I wanted the recipes to feel really approachable, really easy. Like in the books, so much venison and rabbit are mentioned in cooking. And I'm like, yeah, we're not doing any of that. And so that's replaced with beef and chicken in the cookbook. Like for example, in the epic inn scene, the one bed scene, Reese goes down to like get Farah and himself some food, and he comes back with rabbit stew, if the cook's to be believed. And I knew I wanted to play on that, just like one so I could have that scene represented in the cookbook. And so it's beef stew, if the cook's to be believed. And like we're just making it simple. And then I all of the tips and tricks in the book are framed as advice from Alice, which I had so much fun with. They literally say things like use store-bought pie crust. If you want to shortcut that like this and use like store-bought pizza dough, please do it. And so I just really encourage people to make it as easy on yourself as possible, because I want you to like feel like you can throw the party, or like or make a dinner for you and your partner, or whatever, like have that little like fun immersive experience, and actually make it happen, versus just like reading through the book and being like, oh, this would be so fun, but I suck at cooking. So
And they're so approachable. Like, how did you find that balance between that fantasy world and making it so that the practicality of it? Because you have to kind of find it that it still lives within the ACOTAR space.
I tried really hard to make most of the ingredients things that you could easily find in stores. There are a few exceptions, and so one is bone marrow, which it's not as hard as you think to find. You literally just go to the butcher, and it's going to be there. And once you get it, the recipe itself is very easy to prepare. And by the way, that bone marrow spread is delicious. I highly recommend making it. And then oysters is another one that's like kind of getting out of your comfort zone, because you have to shuck them, which is like a new thing, but they're delicious and so fun to eat. Again, once you source them and get the courage to do it. And then I'd argue the last like, well, actually, no, that's not a particularly difficult thing to find now, but there's like an elderflower liqueur in the fairy wine. But beyond that, like everything you should be able to find in stores. And then again, SJM does such a good job of like scene setting and world building. And so with the food, like the vibe that you get most of the time is like kind of rustic, simple food, like most of the time. And so I just tried to channel that. Unless, like, for example, in the Hewn City, the food feels very rich and ornate and over the top. Even that, though, I did like a cider braised pork shoulder inspired by the Hewn City, which is, I'm also a very big fan of that. And the more complex, and I even did two dessert sections. So one is like more bite type desserts that are inspired directly from mentions of food in the books. And the other one is a dessert for every court. And so the desserts for every court are like somewhat bigger desserts. They're not like bite-sized things, and like maybe a little more involved. One of my favorite ones is the orange tiramisu for the Dawn Court that's in the book. Um, yeah, it's really yummy. But yeah, I just tried to like channel the vibes, but still make the ingredients very accessible.
Yeah, and something that I'm just gonna call this out because I feel like I have to, because I wanna toot your horn. This is sometimes you see these books and they can feel like, "Oh, it's just for the fan base to have something to, like, put on their coffee table." I was so struck by so many of the ingredients or some of the recipes being things that I'm like, "I wanna make this tomorrow. I want to host a dinner party." They look delicious, but they don't feel aggressive
Yeah,
in terms of like you've found that balance so well.
thank
Even
you.
I think for a non-ACOTAR reader, like you can throw a fabulous dinner party with these recipes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think too, like a lot of the fan cookbooks, a lot of the recipes are very gimmicky. Like
Mhm.
they're fun to read because they channel something specific from the story or whatever. But you're like, I would never make it. And I think because I came from the background I did, like I'm first a food blogger. I've written other cookbooks, like a recipe developer. I kind of came at it from a different way, maybe than I don't know. I'm speaking out of turn for other people, but from other people who work on products like this. And I, use recipe testers. I get feedback from fans for the Actar book. I had a dinner circle, is what I called them, who I would ask for feedback from. And I really want to make sure that the recipes are fun, but they're also cookable.
That definitely comes across. I will be throwing many a dinner party, ACOTAR themed and not, just to
Yay.
support all of this. You mentioned this a couple of times, but I know you have a background in marketing in addition to kind of recipe development. Were you involved in any of the food styling or the photos for the cookbook? Can you tell us a little bit more about that process?
Yeah, so I was not, which was really weird for me because I am a food photographer. Like
A little
I
bit tough, yeah.
yeah, I have a background in food photography. For years, I did freelance food photography. I shot all the photos for my other books and for my blog and everything. But for this book, I intentionally said I am not doing the photography for a couple reasons. One, when I signed the book deal, I was 8 months pregnant, and the manuscript was going to be due when my son was 6 months old. And I was like, "Yep, not going to have time to do the photos with a newborn." The photography is, I mean, every part of writing a cookbook is hard, but like the photography can be particularly strenuous and it requires so much focus in a way. Like cooking, you can kind of pick up and put down like as you're going. So like, I can be like, oh crap, I need to take a break and breastfeed my son, and like that's fine. But with photography, not so much. And so I was like, yep, can't do it. And also, the photography style that I knew would work best in this book is not my photography style. Like, I love to do lots of color and like bright and fun. And like, it's just a totally different vibe than what this book needed. And so I was like, I know if I was like in my marketing role and I needed to hire a photographer for this project, I would not hire me. I would hire somebody else. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not the right person for the job, and that's okay. So yeah, we hired it out, and I am so happy with the photography. So I'm like, thank God. And I put forward a few names of photographers that I was hoping they would choose to work with, and they didn't. And so I was nervous, but yeah, they did a phenomenal job.
And just the food styling, it just looks so good. And this
It's
is just
amazing.
me probing about like the background information on cookbooks. I'm so fascinated by it. But like, how does that work? Are you the one cooking the food, or do you just kind of like, hey, here's the recipe, you go ahead and make it, and then style it so
Yep.
it'll put?
Yeah,
Wow.
so I took photo when I was testing the recipes myself. I took photos of every recipe, which I am terrible at remembering. I'm working on another cookbook project right now, and I'm terrible at remembering to take pictures. It's awful. But and so that way the recipe or the food stylists had like they're like, okay, I know it's supposed to look like this, and so they would go ahead and take it, and then I had like they got my head notes and stuff too, so they could see like, oh, this is for the Court of Nightmares or whatever. So we're going to make the vibes very spooky, or this is for the Spring Court. So, and I actually, and now that it's funny, it's like, oh, this was so long ago. You're jogging my memory. I actually wrote descriptions in a Excel spreadsheet for like what the vibes for each shoot should be like, based on like the setting and like the scene reference in the book and all that stuff. So yeah,
And it comes through. It's just so, yeah, it's just beautiful. And it just makes, I think, just to kind of echo what Lindsay mentioned, like, it does make me want to cook like all of these recipes. Like, I'm like, oh,
good.
I can actually make this. And like, this is the vibe that I'm going for.
Hmm.
So I love
Yay!
that. Yeah.
That's the goal. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Comes through.
Yeah.
I'm
It does.
curious. So, are you then a visual eater? Is aesthetics important to you as part of your recipe building?
Yes, absolutely. Like, I am a person who my meal feels incomplete without a garnish. Like, even if I'm just cooking for my husband and I, and my 2-year-old who inevitably is not going to eat whatever I put in front of him. But yeah, and so I think that the visuals are a really important part of a meal. And even like, and as I'm developing recipes, like I'm working on a recipe right now, and it's like a stew, and I'm like, it needs some kind of topping, I think, for flavor and for aesthetics. Like, it just needs to look a little more complete. And so I've been like brainstorming what that needs to be, and so yeah, I think that that has like a huge part in the success of a recipe.
I know that in the book you have like your dinner party section where you have put together like the different courses based on the different type of vibes that you're going for. But can you maybe help us build one that is for like a non-ACOTAR fan or reader? Maybe like a 3 or 4 course of like these are the ones that will lure you into this world.
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, so I'm I was tempted for a second to almost go with like a brunch vibe, but I think I'm going to stick with like a dinner vibe. But you
Mm.
could venture out for the brunch. So I hosted, actually, when I was recipe testing, a lot of times I would be like, okay, we need to have people come over because I'm making a whole bunch of food and someone needs to eat it. And I'm lucky enough, I live next door to a family that has a lot of teenagers. So when I'm doing a lot of desserts and stuff, I just like put stuff on their doorstep and I'm like, here you go, because we can't eat it all. But when it's more like dinnery formal that's harder to like package for somebody else. So I'm like, okay, people need to come eat. And so I'm going to tell you what I made for a group of people. If I can remember it exactly. I'm trying to remember the main dish. I remember a lot of the other pieces and it worked really well together. We had Morrigan's punch, which is like an orange cinnamon punch that I love, and that one's great because you can make it in a batch. And then people can just pour themselves from the pitcher throughout the night. And so you're not like making a cocktail, fresh cocktail each time somebody needs it. But you still have like that fun thing. And then we had the roasted bone marrow spread, which was so good. And that like feels very elegant, again, without that much work. Like once you go and get the bone marrow, putting this together is really easy. You just roast the marrow bones and then you scoop out the marrow and mix it with like Parmesan and a few other ingredients and put it on bread. Like it's very simple. And then from there, I mean, I think for a good main for a group of people, we did this for a dinner party that I threw to celebrate the book a few months ago, is the slow roasted lemon chicken. The nice thing about slow roasting is you have like some flexibility with time, because you kind of are going for that like fall off the bone tender chicken. And so, if you are pulling it out of the oven 15 minutes later than my cook time or whatever, it's going to be fine. So it gives you kind of some flexibility, which is really nice. And then I love the minty brown butter salad that's in the book. It's like one of my like, I am not a huge salad person in general. I love that salad. So that's just got to be there because I like it. And the creamy chive mashed potatoes are excellent. I mean, like aside, I feel like mashed potatoes and chicken, like it's such like a great way to go. And then for dessert, I'm trying to think what would be one that's kind of like a sleeper hit in my opinion is the autumn court dessert. It's a peach upside down cake with like a spiced cream cheese frosting. So it's really decadent, but the nice thing about it is like it's an upside down cake and so it can look kind of messy and it'll still, but it's supposed to, like that's okay. That's what you're going for. It doesn't have to look perfect. So I think that would be like, and then it kind of plays back to the punch that you're serving with it as well. So that's what I would do.
You're speaking my language.
Great.
Like I want everything. I kind of want to. I'm not even hungry right now, but like you just made me just so hungry, and I just want to be able to eat all of this. It sounds
Perfect.
delicious.
Yes, you can just go make it all tonight, no big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Easy.
Well, and Chelsea, this is why we loved
Mm.
you and loved this book so much, because even in that explanation, you're like, don't worry, you don't have to remake the drinks every time. You can like, it's such practical dinner party advice that you're giving in the book. And I am so, as someone who like is always 2 minutes behind on everything and is so stressed whenever I throw something, it's so nice to hear that.
Yeah. We want this to be easy and fun.
Yeah, you're keeping the fun in this fun cookbook
Exactly.
for sure.
Exactly.
Do you have another book universe that you're hoping to write a companion for?
Yes, I am actually writing one now.
Ooh,
So I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about it, but
fair enough.
let's just say it's another one with a large fandom. So I think people will be excited. I'm working with a lot fewer descriptions of food for this one. So it's a lot more
Okay.
creativity on my end, but I'm really excited. And then I've been like mulling over what would be fun to do beyond this, and I truly am not sure. I've had a few people ask about Throne of Glass, which could be fun. I'd be interested to kind of hear what there's demand for from people. I think the Bridgerton cookbooks were phenomenal, and like, but that's been done. So I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what fandom needs a cookbook. Maybe there's something that's like another idea that I've had, but I don't know how much people would like it. Is kind of something that's a little more general. That would be like a book club cookbook.
Ooh.
So like lots of different
Yes.
party ideas in that, and like having things inspired by tropes and really famous
So
characters
good.
and stuff like that I think could be fun. But I need to kind of test the waters and see if people would
That's a
actually be interested in
great
that.
idea.
Okay,
We'll
good.
happily test
Ooh,
any recipes that you want for that book.
Perfect. Yay, I love it.
listen,
Yeah, I think it would be
we
really
have
fun.
yeah, we have like our book clubs, and that's like the biggest struggle. And I'm like, how do I get food that is gonna match with the theme of this? And it's so hard.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. Like I tried to do that with ACOTAR book. Like we've got like a tea party, we've got a brunch, we've got like a
Yeah.
sit down dinner party, we've got a couple where like everybody brings something. And it's like kind of like the fun TikTok, inspo party, and Yeah, so the party menus are one of my favorite parts of writing these books.
But food you want to eat, because the other
Yes.
thing about TikTok is it can lead you astray on taste. And these recipes are like actually something you'd like to eat.
I think that's the important part of recipe testing that a lot of people don't consider in seeking feedback from other people, which it can be hard for the ego, but is still important.
Well, Chelsea, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. Do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you or anything else that you want to promote?
Yeah, so you can find me across social media at Chel, Chel.sea, Cole, Cole, just like a dot in the middle of Chelsea. And you can find A Feast of Thorns and Roses literally anywhere books are sold. Barnes and Noble does have a special edition of the book with a really gorgeous cloth and foil cover and 5 exclusive recipes. So check that out if you want something a little special. And other than that, thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
It was so fun to have you. Thank you for listening to Literally Books, the podcast.
Where we say what we read.
And we mean what we say. Bye.